would like to talk about the family today. And what is the meaning of marriage? What is the meaning of having children? What are we doing, okay, in today's age? About a year ago, I read an article by David Brooks. I think it was for The Atlantic. And the title of the article was, "It's Time to Abolish the Nuclear Family." And his point was that the model of the nuclear family with mom and dad and a couple of kids worked really well for a little while during the 50s, and it really never worked very well before, and it's definitely not working now. And he cited all of these statistics about all these different demographics, you know, how the breakup of families is affecting children, how it's affecting men, how it's affecting women, how it's affecting the older generation, the loneliness that's taking place, the mental illness, all of these problems stemming from the fact that the nuclear family is just not working. And I have not ceased to think about that article and to write about it and to just ponder what it is that, you know, we're doing these days. What is it that's causing the nuclear family to disintegrate? Because based on his statistics, I just walked away from that article just feeling like, man, we are in a world of hurt in this country. What is causing this breakdown? Because I disagree with Mr. Brooks fundamentally on almost every level, that the answer is to just forget about marriage, stop making things about a piece of paper or some kind of commitment that binds you down, and you know, then you grow out of it, you go on to other things. You don't want to be tied down and go through this messy thing with, you know, separating properties and all this. Let's just all agree that the marriage thing doesn't work either. It's simply, people are just unhappy and they don't want to do it anymore, and it's just causing so much problems with kids. What let's do is let's just be, you know, let's teach each other, teach our children, and adopt a philosophy that we operate in groups, so we can love lots of people, we can move in different, you know, groupings, and as interests and, you know, needs arise for each of us individually, and we can move through these groups through life and not be you know, going through these messy situations where you have to disengage, right? Let's just don't get too engaged so that you don't have to go through the pain of disengagement. I can't even tell you how fundamentally wrong that is. The human heart desires to be well connected, deeply connected to another individual for their lifetime. The nature of the child and parent relationship is one of long-term love and learning and respect and a desire to be connected to that person. Our brains, our hearts, none of that resonates with me, and it doesn't even have to do with my religious beliefs. It just has to do with human nature. I can't imagine my life without the long-term relationships that I have. My friendships are great. I have some wonderful long-term friendships, but they don't take the place of my long-term family relationships. And I believe that's true of most people that have them. So you have to ask yourself, what is the answer? What is the real problem, or the real what's going wrong with marriage and families in our country? Well, one of the things that Mr. Brooks brings out is the fact that prior to about the 1960s, that people understood what marriage was for. There was a cultural understanding that the reason that we married is so that we could we could have those deep relationships, so we could leave a legacy. Sorry, my cats are wrestling on the ground over here. Quiet, kitties. That we could have a legacy in our lives, that we could leave something, not just material things like a business or a farm or a home, but that we could leave a record of our lives, something that really changed the world, at least at a small level. And we also understood that getting married and having a family strengthens society as a whole. That when we had a strong marriage and then we raised children who were law-abiding citizens and were responsible citizens, and that contributed to alleviating suffering. When we raised children that were when we ourselves were stable and good people, and we raised children who were stable, good people, that society would be stronger. And a lot of it, of course, prior to even to those days, it was about survival, right? It was about keeping the farm going, or keeping the little shop, the mercantile going, or learning a trade so that you could support a family. In very rural America, you had a lot more of that going on. So what is it that we're going to do now that we don't feel like we have to survive, and we have lost this feeling like legacy is important? What are we going for now? Well, that is the whole enchilada, isn't it? That's the whole big question. You see, I don't believe that families are failing because the structure of family relationships is a failed structure, or it's a failed model. I believe people aren't working it. I believe they've lost the meaning behind the reason for marriage and family. They don't see their lives as, they don't see themselves as people that can change the world. They don't see their families as culturally able to leave a legacy. And I think that's what we need to get back to. So what does all this have to do with public education versus home education? Or I should say public schooling as opposed to home education. Well, in my humble opinion, the public schooling system, coupled with too many screens, is what has really destroyed the culture of the family in our country. Through the media, we've been indoctrinated and taught all kinds of alternative ideas about what a family is or what it should be, and given, on one hand, very unrealistic models, or on the other hand, given completely false models of what people's lives ought to look like. And social media has exploded that. And all we've gotten from it is a lot of mental health issues. We certainly haven't gained anything through our use of technology, our constant use of technology. And why do I say that the public schools are a part of this? Well, because they not only separate parents from their children for far too many hours a day, they separate their siblings from each other at school too. You know, in the one-room schoolhouse, you sent your kids and they stayed with each other. Yes, they had other kids in there with them, but it wasn't for hours a day. It was maybe for 2 to 4 hours a day. And it wasn't even all year long. It was when kids didn't have something else to do at home. And of course, there were all different kinds of models prior to the one-room schoolhouse, and prior to 1840, when we began to have compulsory education in factory and government-run schools. But most of the time, families had a lot of family time together. And the public school, between transportation, getting ready in the morning, coming home at night, doing hours of homework, and then sitting in front of screens, there's just no family time. There's no time for conversation. There's no time to just sit and learn to know each other. If those two things could be eliminated, we would find a rebirth of the American family. And we would find a great deal more happiness and joy in our family relationships. So I want you to think deeply about that. And even if you decided you didn't want to home educate, maybe eliminating screens and seeing if you could use that time to really develop strong family relationships and strong marriages. Take time each week to be together. Do things you enjoy. Not just the once a year or twice a year vacation, but really daily time together. And at least an evening every week that you put aside to touch base, to share, to develop talents, to play games, or visit with another family, whatever it is, make dinner together. This is my challenge to you. And if you'd like to learn more, join our community.